Do you remember the last League 2 review that we did where I spoke about not liking football? Or the week before that where I spoke about not liking football? This week, still don't like football. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the League 2 review. Game week 44, another 12 matches for us to go through and review in as much detail as possible. If you do go on to enjoy, don't forget to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. The support on the last one of these that we did was absolutely incredible. Over 3,000 views, smashed the like target as well. So can we try and hit 150 likes on today's video? That would massively appreciated. Subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. We are now on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. Who do you think is getting promoted? Who do you think will be joining Morecambe in the National League next season? Obviously, it was officially confirmed. The first stipulation, which is mathematically impossible for somebody to get out of, Morecambe will be relegated and playing National League football next season. But let's waste no further time and get straight into it. We'll start out firstly then with the early kick-off between Newport County and Walsall FC. A crazy game and lots of drama in this one. I think obviously the biggest talking point is the goal that never was for Walsall. 101 minutes on the clock, maybe 102. Oisin McKenty on off the bench. Headers a ball from Nathan Asimwe. Is it Nathan Asimwe? I'm pretty sure it is. Into the back of the net. Obviously, it takes the referee and the linesman a couple of minutes to decide that it is blatantly a handball, and nobody for the life of me could really understand why he didn't just head the ball in. It seemed very unnecessary for him to be using his hand. I thought he disguised it quite well from the first angle, but then when you look at the view that the linesman's got, it's the most blatant handball that you will ever see. There was a couple of other big decisions in the game. Obviously, Newport went down to 10 at 12 minutes before time, and then obviously we had all the crazy injury time. In my opinion, I don't think tackles like that should even be fouls. Never mind red cards, but in this day and age, you can't really commit any type of slide tackle or you're going to get yourself sent off. How Tommy Simkin wasn't sent off. In fact, how that wasn't even given as a foul when he kung fu kicked the Newport player in the face. How on earth that wasn't even a foul sums up referees at this level. Absolutely terrible. I watched like the first 15 minutes or so of this one before obviously I had to leave to go to the Bradford game. As you can see, Walsall had a lot of territory, especially in the first half. Newport really struggling to get out, and obviously Walsall were clearly the better of the two sides. But this is a decent point from Bradford City point of view for Walsall. Definitely more points dropped, and I don't think they've won in like their last 10 matches. Terrible form for them, and with Bradford's poor run of form recently, it really has been a big opportunity missed for Walsall over the last numerous number of matches really. As for Newport, a point that doesn't really mean all too much. With a few teams around them all winning, it has dropped them back down to 20th in the table, where it looked like they were going to finish around 14th to 17th. They're now back in and around this relegation type of mix, even though mathematically, obviously, they cannot be relegated. But a solid point for Newport. I'm sure they'll take it at home with 10 men. As for Walsall, definitely points dropped, and they're just struggling. They either struggle for goals and then keep a clean sheet, or they score a lot of goals and they can't keep a clean sheet. They just can't get the balance perfect at the moment. They've still got the joint best goal difference in the division, but they're now 4 points off top of the table, but that gap to third place is only 1 point. And whilst obviously they have Accrington on Saturday, Bradford have Doncaster. If I was a betting man, I know I'd be backing. Let's move on to the 3 o'clock kickoffs then. Accrington 1, Carlisle 1 is how it finished at the Wham Stadium. Now, I'd love to tell you what happened in the game, but neither club has posted their highlights package on their YouTube channel, so I can't really tell you. I have seen Callum Whelan's goal on Twitter, but that's all I can really tell you from the game. Obviously, Accrington opened the scoring at just before the 70th minute mark, and with where they were in the table, 3 points at home to Carlisle wasn't a must, but it would have obviously been nice. In the end, they're going to have to settle for the point, which obviously doesn't really favour Carlisle. They've been very good over the last couple of matches. I think it's 10 points picked up out of their last possible 12, but it's too little too late. Another goal contribution for Georgie Kelly, and to be fair to Callum Whelan, he took the goal very well. Some real nice composure and a great finish in the last minute. In terms of the stats, Accrington had more expected goals, but Carlisle had more possession, more shots, and also more shots on target as well. As for bottom of the table, I mean, mathematically, Accrington can still technically be caught. Carlisle would have to win both games. Accrington would have to lose both games, and it'd have to be an 11-goal swing, because Accrington have also scored more goals than at Carlisle. So I do think it is now a straight shootout between Carlisle and Tranmere, and obviously Tranmere have got a 4-point gap. So Carlisle basically need to win their last 2 games and hope Tranmere only pick up 1 point point from their last two. It's looking very unlikely despite their recent upturn in form. I'm sure Accrington will be happy to have just not lost the game. It's going to be very hard for them to get relegated from this position, but I guess crazier things have certainly happened in football. A decent point for Accrington, but as for Carlisle, in the stage of the season that they're in now, it is definitely 2 points drop. They needed to win that, then the gap would have only been 2 points, but there's far too many if, buts and maybes, and with Morecambe already down, it is really now between Carlisle and Tranmere, but Tranmere have got the big advantage with the 4 point gap. Barrow and Tranmere played out a 0-0 draw. Not a right lot really happened in the game. Looking at the highlights, the only real chances were created that were kind of cross-come shots and shots from distance. Nothing really clear-cut created between either side, and the stats will probably back that up. I'm sure Barrow will be a little bit disappointed with just 2 shots, 1 on target, being the home side. If any team was going to win that, looking at the stats, Tranmere certainly did have more opportunities, but it's a clean sheet for both teams, a point closer to where they both want to go. Barrow, they continue their unbeaten run. They've obviously shot up the table as of recently, so fair play to Andy Wing. As for Tranmere, it maintains that 4 point gap between themselves and Carlisle at the foot of the table. It is now 3 without a win, but I do still see Tranmere limping over the line and surviving for next season. I don't know what to say about this football team anymore. We play so well for certain periods of games and then we just throw it away. That's 3 games on the bounce now where we've gone ahead and we've blown the lead. In the last 2 away games, we've been ahead twice by 2 goals and we've still come away from the game with a loss and then a draw respectively. Not good enough. We should have already had promotion secured by now, but just defensively absolutely all over the place. We take the lead through a nice goal from Bobby Point and Alex Patterson breaking from midfield, doing what he does best, plays it into Point, and it's a really cute finish in off the inside of the post into the back of the net. 9 minutes later we would be awarded a penalty. Tom Naylor clearly got his arms around Anthony Sarswick, pulls him back. Definitely a penalty. At the time I thought it was a bit soft, but looking at the replay you can clearly see that there is an impediment there, and then Sars blasts the penalty down the middle. Great strike for him, and then once again we concede a goal in first half stoppage time, same as we did last week away at Swindon. Great finish to be fair from Jensen Metcalf, who I thought was definitely Chesterfield's best player, one of the best players on the park yesterday. Top player, and I'm sure he'll go very far in the game. Great finish. I think it's Ola Kigbe cuts the ball back to the edge of the box and he just whips it in off the inside of the post. 4 minutes into the second half we would restore our 2-goal lead. Some great play from Callum Kavanagh down the left hand side, played the ball through to Teo Adaramola and he hung the ball up absolutely superbly to the back post. Alex Patterson breaking from midfield again, one of his best performances of the season, absolutely brilliant, and that is the quality that he does possess. Great header, and you're thinking 5 minutes into the second half we've got the goal, when you're thinking, you know, they're behind there, the home team, they're probably going to come at us. Now just don't make any stupid mistakes, and then we bring off Brandon Kayler for Jamie Walker. Now Alexander's come out after the game and said that Kayler reported a bit of illness at half time, but he looked very surprised when he was actually substituted off, and I just didn't understand taking Kayler off. You know, surely if he's ill, then he can't start the game. Surely if he's ill at half-time, you bring him off at half-time. I just do not understand the substitution, and I don't buy him having to come off because of illness. This is not a tight muscle that we're talking about, where if he stays on, he's got a risk of pulling it or tearing it. Kayler was playing really well, and he was stopping a lot of their midfield triangles, and their second goal would come from some great passage of play between the midfield, because we're absolutely all over the place. It's terrible defending from Aidan Baldwin. Ball gets played through from Metcalf, a brilliant through ball to be fair, and Baldwin just gets caught. Ball watching, wrong side of Will Grigg. He rounds Sam Walker and finishes into the back of the net. And then we just absolutely shit ourselves again. We did it against Swindon, we did it against Notts County, and we've done it again in this one, going far too defensive. We brought on Romney Critchlow centre half for a striker in Callum Kavanagh. Critchlow is playing central midfield. It didn't work playing defenders in midfield at Swindon. It didn't work playing defenders in midfield against Notts County. So why on earth do you think it's going to work away at Chesterfield? I just cannot get my head around it. Romney Critchlow is not a central midfielder. Aidan Baldwin is not a central midfielder. Callum Johnson, Teo Adaramola, Brad Halliday, they're not midfielders. Stop playing them in there, because it's cost us again. Chesterfield inevitably score in the 92nd minute. They work the ball very well between the two sides. We have a really bad habit of not being able to stop crosses, and eventually Mandeville's just got all the freedom inside the penalty area. Patterson can't quite get close enough. There's a couple of defenders, I think it might have been maybe Huntington and Critchlow, throw themselves at it, and Sam Walker gets beat at his near post. And then I would say for the last half an hour really in the game, there was only one team who really liked scoring. Tommy Lee had a good chance when he came on off the bench and that went wide. I've seen him getting a lot of criticism, but I don't think he's the reason why we didn't win the game yesterday. So frustrating how we get ourselves into such good positions. And again, I've seen a lot of Chesterfield fans talking about for the first 20-30 minutes, that's the best team they've seen play all season. So why do we not play like that for the full match? We play absolutely brilliantly, high pressing, attacking football, go a couple goals ahead, and then we just try and sit back and defend. We clearly can't do it. We're not good enough to just defend for an hour. We can't do it. This is League Two. We're going to concede goals, and it always seems to happen. Stop going so defensive, go on the front foot, go hell for leather and try and beat them. I'd rather win 5-3 than try and hang on for a 3-1 or a 3-2. Just go at them, try and score more goals, because it could come down to goal difference by the end of the season. As you would expect, they dominated possession. We had obviously more shots on target, 5 big chances. We should have definitely wrapped up the game. We had some real good opportunities in that one, and it is definitely, in the context of our season, 2 points dropped. On the balance of play, a point was probably a fair result, because even the last 15 minutes of the first half, it was all Chesterfield, and they did miss some big opportunities. We should have already had promotion wrapped up. When you think about the amount of points that we have thrown away recently, we only got 1 point from Accrington, Gillingham and Tranmere, and that was when Gillingham were under John Coleman and they weren't winning football matches. This is not the Gillingham under Gareth Ainsworth. The amount of points we've thrown away recently, just 2 points out of our last 3 matches, all games that we've been leading by at least 1, in some cases 2 goals, twice in some of their matches as well. I'm so frustrated. As for Chesterfield, they've still got a chance of making it into the playoffs. That superior goal difference, it could come down to that come the end of the season. They're probably going to need to win their final 2 matches. Their recent form hasn't been awful, in all honesty, but they probably do need to win their last 2. I do think defensively they do look a bit suspect going forward, though. They have got some real firepower, and especially with Armando Dobra probably coming back for Saturday, they should be feeling very confident about maybe sneaking into that top 7. Definitely 2 point shot for Bradford City, and I'm so sick of this football club. I hate it. MK Dons finally got back to winning ways with a 1-0 victory away at Crewe Alexandra. That pretty much kills any outside hopes of Lee Bell's side making it into the top 7. I think they're now 5 points off with just 2 games to go. The goal that MK Dons score is actually a pretty funny one, obviously. The Crewe keeper played for MK Dons last season, and MK Dons fans are singing about him. He'll always be shit, and then he's holding the ball at his feet, eventually tries to clear it. He's closed down by Scott Hogan, who eventually then just taps the ball into an empty net. He's absolutely comical, classic League Two, and that was really all she wrote for this one. I think Crewe at the post in the second half, Danilo Orsi had a good chance as well in the second half, but on the whole, great for Paul Warne to finally secure his first win as MK Dons boss. I do think that's the right type of appointment that they did need at this stage with where the club is at. I think they needed a proper motivator, a proper leader, because there's far too many egos. They've got a lot of good players, but not a team at the moment. As for Crewe, they're just diabolical. I've never really rated Lee Bell as a manager, but what can he really do about, you've created 19 shots, but only 1 of them has ended on target. Not good enough. A real lack of quality between both teams, to be fair. Just 1 shot on target for either side. Crewe dominated possession. I do think we'll see a lot less of MK Dons constantly dominating the ball for the sake of it now under Paul Warne. As for the table, a match which doesn't really mean much for MK Dons. It's just nice for their confidence to finally get a win, and it has moved them up a couple of places in the table. As for Crewe, just 1 point picked up out of their last possible 12 available. Making it into the top 7 now is a real tricky task. They need to win their final 2 and hope Chesterfield, Salford, Colchester and Grimsby all don't start picking up at least a point in their final 2 games. It's not going to happen for Crewe this season. They have been really poor at times, and it is going to be a mid-table finish for Lee Bell's side. Is he the right man to lead your team into next season though, Crewe fans? Let me know down below. Doncaster continued their excellent run of form as they put 1 foot in League One. I would be very confident in saying that, as they dismantle Colchester 3-0 at home. Their first win at home against any team in the top 9 this season, and they absolutely dismantled Danny Cowley's side. Luke Molyneux providing a couple of assists. The first win against 1v1 against the Colchester left back, shifts it onto his right foot, and a lot of people say Molyneux, he can only come inside, he can only go on the left foot, goes on the outside, drills the ball across. Mandela Egbo switches off at the back post, and Harry Clifton just has a tap in. The second goal, goodness me, what on earth has Luke Molyneux had before that match? What the hell have I just witnessed as well? watching them highlights back. He picks the ball up in his own half, takes it past 4, 5, 6 players like they're not even there. Absolutely outstanding from one of the best players in the entire division. Definitely in the top 3 alongside the likes of David McGoldrick, for example. Absolutely top talent. Then plays the ball through to Jordan Gibson. It's not an easy finish, to be fair to him, and he puts it, I think, through the legs of Matt Macy. I assume it was Matt Macy in goal for Colchester. That made it 2, and obviously the scoring was wrapped up in the 91st minute by Patrick Kelly. Awar Edwards would see red for a second yellow card offence in the second half. I didn't see what the first yellow was for. I do think the second yellow is a little bit harsh. I'm not sure he actually makes any contact with Owen Bailey. He's more stretching, and because of the slippy surface, I think it then makes it look like a slide tackle, but I don't actually think he touches him. But at the end of the day, he got rattled by Neil Burns, so I'm quite happy to see him see red for that one. As for the league table, Donny obviously go top of the table. They are the most informed team surely in the division over, actually no, not, we need to go to form. We go to last 10 matches, actually only third. Chesterfield and Port Vale have both been in better form, but over the last 5 matches, no, they're not there either, so maybe just ignore me. They're playing very well is what I need to say. Back-to-back wins, really good unbeaten run for them at the moment in time, scoring loads of goals. I think they've scored the third most amount in the entire division. Joint second best goal difference in the entire division. My stats are not looking great for me today either. Now a 4-point gap between themselves and 4th. I do think it will take a serial bottle now for Doncaster to not go up. I certainly think their aims are going to be on the title. Maybe we could just settle for a draw on Saturday, lads. How do you fancy about that? Or maybe you could just let us win and we can both go up together. We'll give you £5. We probably doesn't have £5 to give you. As for Colchester, not great for them. Obviously, their unbeaten run has now come to an end. I don't think losing against Doncaster is the end of the world, but Grimsby only drew, Notts County lost, Wimbledon lost, Walsall drew, Bradford drew, Port Vale drew. A lot of teams at the top end of the table are bottling it. Only Doncaster won inside the top 8 teams this week, which goes to show how crazy that this division is. Actually, over the last 2 weeks, Doncaster have been the only team to win. Lots of draws and defeats in there for a lot of teams. A lot of teams seem to be falling apart. Doncaster, though, they're together more than ever, and I'm looking forward to seeing a sold-out Keepmoor on Saturday, surely, because if you're only giving 1,000 tickets to the Bradford fans, surely there's going to be 20,000 Donny fans there on Saturday, right? AFC Wimbledon's poor run of form continued as Gillingham's unbeaten run also did continue. Gabode scoring the only goal of the game, an assist from Bradley Dack, but I think the goal originally comes from some great play from Romeo Hutton down the right-hand side. I know he's not been amazing so far this season. A lot of Gillingham fans haven't particularly rated him. His work rate and defensive ethic at times has been questioned, but there's no doubt about his talent going forward. And to be fair, nice assist from Bradley Dack and a great finish from Gabode, whips it into the keeper's near post, and that was all she wrote really from the game. Wimbledon's only chances really coming from set plays. I think they've only scored, 22 goals in the last 23 games, something crazy like that. They just don't score enough from open play, and that's all well and good when you're being defensively solid and you're keeping clean sheets, but recently they have started to concede a fair few goals. I think Mike Stevens' agent certainly had been slipping a few pennies to some of the journalists and tweeting about how Wimbledon, I think, have only won once when Matty Stevens has been subbed off in a game, which obviously doesn't help. But if he's not scoring in the first 70 minutes, what's to necessarily say that they're going to score in the final 20 minutes? You need to freshen things up, you need to change things, because otherwise your manager's going to get the cold stub. And I know Matty Stevens has scored a lot of goals, but that obviously isn't a particularly great look. In terms of the stats from the game then, not a lot in terms of clear-cut chances created, just 3 shots on target between the two sides. Wimbledon actually having more possession, which goes to show about the Gareth Ainsworth style of play and all that sort of stuff. But their very good unbeaten run, it does continue, considering that it took them ages to actually win a match. I know a lot of them have been draws, but it is now 7 points out of their last possible at 9 available, and they are slowly climbing the table. They could still finish as high as 13th. I do think it's very unlikely given the goal difference swing, but if they can aim for 14th, 15th, build next season under Ainsworth, I certainly do think they'll be better for that. You look after the game as well, Wimbledon fans and players arguing amongst each other. If you want to play a team in the playoffs, you either want Wimbledon or Notts County or Walsall, because all of their fans hate their managers and all that sort of stuff, so it'd be actually pretty nice to play any of them. Knowing Bradford City, though, will end up with Grimsby or Colchester, or some team is going to be on loads of form and will end up losing in the playoffs. Another disappointing day at the office for Wimbledon. Their automatic promotion hopes are definitely definitely over now. 5 points with just 2 games to go. It is going to be the playoffs for Johnny Jackson's side, and if I was them, I wouldn't be very confident. Harrogate beat Fleetwood 3-1 at home, and I'm pretty sure Harrogate's home form has been very good since the turn of the new year. I think it's like 10 or 11 matches unbeaten at home, so fair play to Simon Weaver. They have been pretty poor on the road. I think it's just 3 goals scored in their last 10 away matches, and 2 of them coming in the last one against Walsall. Not a lot really happened in the first half, but Fleetwood did open the scoring 6 minutes into the second half. A well-worked corner routine. The ball was played back to Moore around the edge of the penalty area, who drilled it into the near post, but their lead would only last at 5 minutes. I think it was Ellis Taylor shot from a free kick, and the Fleetwood goalkeeper maybe got a bit unsighted, or it took a deflection. I'm not really 100% sure, but he eventually could only parry it into the path of Jasper Moon, who would tap in for 1-1. 5 minutes later, Ellis Taylor would turn the game on its head with another goal for him, another goal contribution as well. He's certainly been Harrogate's best player so far this season, or certainly that's what I would say, because anytime Harrogate score, he's got some type of involvement with it. I do think the Fleetwood keeper will also be a little bit disappointed with that one, and obviously Fleetwood are throwing players forward, and eventually they get done on the counter. It's basically like a 4 or 5-on-2 really, and Ellis Taylor eventually crosses to Tom Curzon, who then just has a tap in really into an empty net. I think his first Harrogate goal, or maybe his second since signing from non-league in January, but you look at the stats, all in favour of Harrogate. Way more XG. Fleetwood actually having more possession, which is rare for them, especially under Pete Wild, but Harrogate way more shots on target, and big chances created as well. It takes them, I think, mathematically 100% safe now. 9 points above the drop with just 2 games to go, so it's going to be another season of EFL football for Simon Weaver's side. As for Fleetwood, just 1 point picked up out of their last 12 available. Hopefully they continue that between now and the end of the season, and we can get a nice 3 points on the final day. Morecambe's 18-year stay in the Football League did come to an end as their relegation was officially confirmed yesterday, so commiseration to them and their fans. Jason Whittingham is an absolute clown, and he needs to sell the club as quick as possible. I don't see Morecambe coming back up into the EFL for a long time, but hopefully over the summer they can finally get that sale that they've been needing for a number of years. Fair play to Derek Adams and his side. They gave it absolutely everything until 2 games to go. I think a lot of people thought they'd be down after about 30 matches, so credit to them for hanging in there for so long, but unfortunately they've just not had enough quality in their squad across the full season. They've just not had enough, and I really hope that they could have that underdog story where it was everybody really against Morecambe, the EFL kind of battling against Morecambe, because these fit and proper tests there absolutely pathetic really, aren't they? And Jason Whittingham should not be in charge of Morecambe Football Club. As for the game itself, Simon Ashley opened the scoring after just 3 minutes. A nightmare start really for Morecambe. They just failed to clear a set piece, and a good finish to be fair, and a man that hope Bradford City are certainly looking to sign this upcoming summer. Former Shrimps man Cole Stockton would make it 2 just before half time with a nice finish. I do think the Morecambe keeper might be a little bit disappointed with that. Jan Songo did pull a goal back 7 minutes into the second half. Captain Yannick on the score sheet once again. He's been one of their few bright sparks for this season, a man who always gives it 110%. Might lack the footballing quality at times, but you can never question his work rate and work ethic. He just wanted it more than the Salford player, and a nice finish into the back of the net after Salford failed to clear a set piece. But Kelly Namai, another man who I hope the Bantams are looking at this summer, would wrap up the score in 4 minutes from time. Some nice play from Akiba Do looking down the left hand side, low cross across the face of goal, and Namai has a tap in about 2 or 3 yards out. Some really sloppy defending from Morecambe, and that is the reason why they are going down. As for the league table, Salford now just 2 points off of the playoffs. Certainly stranger things have happened. They're well within that playoff mix at this moment in time. Plenty more twists, plenty more turns. Commiserations to Morecambe, 4 straight defeats on the bounce, 9 points from safety with just 2 games to go, so they're definitely going down. They'll win the National League next season. 38 goals scored and 66 conceded, unforgivable. Credit to Derek Adams though and his side for battling for so long, because nobody thought they would have battled hard for so long. Unfortunately though, it was just one step too far for them this season. Notts County's terrible run of form continued as they were defeated once again at home. This time to Cheltenham Town have been terrible away from home so far this season, but it's alright lads, because George Abbott played well on Thursday and Stuart Maynard shushed the Bradford fans, didn't he? So it's alright. It doesn't matter that you've lost. Alassane Jatta opened the scoring at just before half time. Finally, he found himself back on the score sheet, but he took a terrible back pass from Sam Stubbs. All I see him do is make mistakes at Cheltenham Town, and Cheltenham fans all absolutely love him. Don't understand it. He's obviously on loan from Bradford City. Definitely won't be getting a new contract with us this summer. Jatta, nice for him to finally get on the score sheet, and it was a pretty interesting celebration. Jumped over the advertising boards and just sat in the crowd with the fans, which I thought was, fair play to him. Jordan Thomas would level things up 15 minutes from time. Jacob Bedo with a poor clearance. Mike Taylor then with a shot come cross. George Abbott then can't get close enough to Jordan Thomas, who taps into an empty net. He is a real top prospect. And again, if Bradford City can't get Kelly Namai, I'd be looking at Jordan Thomas come the summer. But Ethan Archer scoring the winner in the 89th minute. An absolute screamer from 25 yards out, right into the top corner. Nothing Alex Bass can do about that. It was obviously back in between the sticks for Notts County. But an absolutely brilliant strike into the top corner. I think Michael Flynn did say after this game that both Jordan Thomas and Ethan Archer will probably leave the club in the summer. I do think Thomas will be a bigger miss than Archer, but two very good young prospects for the level. As you would expect, Notts County dominated possession, had way more shots on target, more XG. The woodwork twice in the second half, one from Jacob Bedo and one from maybe Grant, who rattled the crossbar, but another really disappointing day at the office for Notts County. Their automatic promotion hopes are not mathematically done. They're 6 points off with 2 games to go with an inferior goal difference, but just 1 point picked up out of their last 12 available, and of course it was against Bradford City, and their goal in that one only came from really some David McGoldrick magic. But did that make sense? David McGoldrick magic? I don't know. You get what I'm trying to say. Brilliant player is Dave McGoldrick. Definitely one of the top 3 in this division. As for Cheltenham, maintains their little unbeaten run that they've recently started building. They were on a poor run of form before this unbeaten run, but they're now 16th in the table with a little bit of gap between the teams below them as well. And again, they'll be looking to maybe try and finish in that top half. It's still mathematically possible. They can still finish on 63 points, but it will require a bit of a collapse from Crewe and Bromley and then a few teams below them as well. So really good 3 points for Cheltenham. Their young players are absolutely flying. As for Notts County, the discontent continues between their fans and Stuart Maynard. But like I said, it's fine because he shushed the Bradford fans, didn't he? Even though the goal had nothing to do with him. Port Vale fought back late on at home to Grimsby Town from a 2 goals down to rescue a point. Danny Rose would open the scoring after 24 minutes. A shot came in and Ben Amos just seemed to parry it into the path of Danny Rose. It's quite an acute angle, to be fair, and a brilliant header to find the side netting from that angle. 7 minutes into the second half, Grimsby would be awarded a penalty. George Byers with a pretty clumsy foul, not one that he really necessarily needs to commit, and then obviously Danny Rose would convert an emphatic penalty into the back of the net. He's a really underrated striker, especially at League 2 level. He is certainly a player that I rate quite highly, and again, if Bradford City are in League 2 next season, wouldn't mind us having a little offer at him, chucking a few of them Verdane Oliver wages at somebody like a Danny Rose. Lawrence Olai would pull a goal back at 12 minutes from time. Some great composure after Grimsby just failed to clear the ball, really. He opened up his body and caressed the ball into the back of that. Then 95 minutes on the clock, Grimsby would switch off. I think eventually from a set play, the ball is worked back to the edge of the box. Port Vale put a cross in. I think the header is then originally saved by the Grimsby goalkeeper, but Jesse Deborah is unmarked and he just got a tap in into the back of the net. And I think he felt probably every emotion, a bit of confusion, drama, excitement, all that sort of stuff. It seemed like he was very confused as to whether he wanted to grab the ball, let's go back to the halfway line to try and find a winner, or run off into the corner, do a knee slide and boot the ball away. Wasn't 100% sure, but eventually they did manage to rescue a point. And you look at the stats from the game, it was the least that Port Vale did deserve. A lot of time wasting from Grimsby, as you would expect at this stage in the season. You know, Grimsby, they've got a lot still to fight for. They're wanting to finish in the playoffs, so I don't really blame them for doing that, but when you do that, you've got to make sure you hold on. They didn't in the end, and Port Vale did manage to rescue a well-deserved point. They probably did deserve all 3 looking at them stats. As for Port Vale, obviously it is now 2 games without a win for them, and it is 5 goals conceded in their last 2 matches, which is obviously not great, but at the same time they've also scored 4 in their last 2. Now 1 point off of top, 3 point gap between themselves and 4th place as well. As for Grimsby, it's 3 without a win, and they're still in the playoffs on a minus -5 goal difference at the moment. They're definitely going to need to win at least one of their last 2 to have a chance of making it in that top 3. Just one win in their last 5. Colchester recently had picked up a bit. Salford have picked up. Chesterfield have picked up. So they're going to need to start turning a few of these losses and draws into wins again. Obviously, they had the disappointment on Good Friday of that battering at home to Swindon. They have to win their next game. In isolation, a point away at Port Vale is not a bad point, but when you're 2-0 up and you concede in the 95th minute, it's always going to feel like a defeat. Great fighting spirit, though, from Darren Moore's side, and I just want to actually quickly look at the lineup. Did he make loads of changes for this game? I mean, he started Byers and Harper over Garrity and Walters. Were they available for this one? Well, Walters came on off the bench. There's no Garrity in the squad, so I assume he was injured, so fair enough. I guess ignore me from that point of view. Swindon's great recent run of form did come to an end as they were beaten 1-0 at home to Bromley. I believe the Robins' first home defeat since November. Shamanga would miss a penalty just before half-time. Definitely a spot kick. In terms of the spot kick itself, really poor penalty from Shamanga, and when you're going to do this stutter nonsense in a penalty, you have to score, and when you don't, you do look a bit silly, and he basically just passed the ball into the hands of, is it Jude Smith or Grant Smith, one of the two. Really good goalkeeper at this level, and yeah, really poor penalty from Shamanga. The only goal of the game would be scored by Will Wright, just in the wrong net, not the right net. Do you like that one? 2 minutes from time, a low cross will come into the box, and it just seemed to take a few bobbles, few deflections, and eventually it went into the bag of Wright's own goal, which is obviously not ideal for them. Swindon have been scoring a lot of goals recently. They've also been conceding a lot, so this game was maybe a bit of an anomaly where they haven't scored, and they've also not really conceded all too many. You look at the stats, Swindon created 3.37 XG and failed to score. Goodness me, it just seems to be one of those days at the office, but Bromley have had a few of these very good 1-0 wins on the road so far this season. Loads of possession for Swindon, loads of shots, equal amount of shots on target, more big chances, and 14 corners for Swindon. 14, bloody hell. But in terms of the league table, a game which in isolation doesn't really mean all too much for both teams' seasons. They're both definitely going to be in League 2 for next campaign. Bromley mathematically can still make the playoffs. They're 5 points off with 2 games to go, but it is very unlikely. This defeat away at Port Vale, if they maybe got a point out of that one, or maybe nicked a win, one of these 1-0 away wins that they've had, they might have had more of a chance. But for their first season in the EFL, they've been absolutely flying. They did TikTok talking about my manager of the season. I gave it to Andy Woodman because I think he's done an absolutely brilliant job there. As for Swindon, just a little bit of a blip, a bump in the road really for their recent run of form where they've been scoring loads of goals and been having loads of crazy games. They were due a 1-0 defeat at home. So fair play to Bromley, fair play to Andy Woodman's side, and yeah, a bit of a disappointing one really for Swindon. But you look, 15 wins, 15 draws and 14 defeats. There's a reason why they're 13th in the table. They've scored a lot of goals, but they concede far too many, especially when Will Wright's sticking him in his own net. That obviously doesn't help. In terms of promotion then, with 2 games to go, I definitely think Doncaster are going up. I'm going to still say that Port Vale will go up with them, and I'm also still going to back Port Vale to go on and win the title. But that final spot, I really do think Walsall are going to sneak in there. I don't see us getting anything at Doncaster next week. I think Walsall will surely beat Accrington, and then it could go down to goal difference, and Walsall at the moment is more superior than ours, and we're going to look back where we've missed out on goal difference, or maybe even goals scored, and think about the amount of points that we've thrown away between, I don't know, the Gillingham away defeat and now absolutely diabolical. Playoffs, I think, will be the other team out of Bradford and Walsall, and then Wimbledon. And then I just don't know. I really don't know. Everybody seems to be losing. I think Grimsby will get in there, and I also think Chesterfield might sneak a spot. I don't think Notts County will make it into the top 7 at the moment. Colchester, they might make it in there. It's really just so hard to predict at the moment. Obviously, Morecambe are definitely down. Carlisle are probably going to join them. That's not as exciting. But this promotion race, it's not good for the heart. But I guess if you're a neutral, it's absolutely brilliant. I'm sure the playoffs are going to be a fantastic watch as well. Hopefully, I'm not watching it in the ground. I'm sat at home knowing that we're going to be in League 1 next season. But with the way that we've been playing and throwing points away recently, I just cannot see it. Even if we go 3-0 up at Doncaster on Saturday with 4 minutes to go, I'll still be thinking that we're going to lose that game, because that's the mentality that's been installed into this team over the last 3 games. Stop going so defensive with your substitutions, Graham, or I will lose my mind. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that type of good stuff. 150 likes as always would be massively appreciated. Get your thoughts in down below. Who's getting promoted? Who's joining Morecambe in the National League next season? Who makes it into the playoffs? And all that sort of stuff. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you very soon for another one. Hopefully next week we've got automatic secured. We've beat Doncaster, Walsall have lost, and we're in League One. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? It's not going to happen though, is it?